Wow!
Hey guys, so it's been 1 week since we launched Natsuki the movie. I can't believe it's already gone so quick. All throughout this week, I keep waking up in the morning and thinking, oh god, I've got to finish editing Natsuki the movie. And yet, it's done. It's such a big weight that's been lifted. It still hasn't felt like it's actually gone yet, anyway. But I'm going to be talking about behind the scenes and what happened and some stories. And this is the first of 2 videos I'm going to be making for Patreon. And in this one, I'm going to be answering questions you guys have sent in over the last few days and giving you some insights. So, the first question is, what were some of the biggest obstacles you faced during the filming of Natsuki the movie? I think the biggest obstacle was just not knowing how to film it, to be honest. I mean, if you look at Europe, in those space of 5 days, we filmed in the Louvre, we filmed in a wind tunnel, we filmed in a cemetery, we filmed in a bustling park, we filmed in an acupuncture clinic, and we filmed in a radio station. And because we were doing a kind of fly-on-the-wall style of filming, we had to go in, quickly assess the situation, what angles we're going to film at, and get rolling quickly without even being able to kind of set up the camera. And because it wasn't staged, because Natsuki isn't acting, it's just genuinely Natsuki doing things, we had to try and capture every moment of it. And if we didn't capture it, then we were stuffed. The wind tunnel was pretty difficult because there's a little door into the wind tunnel, right? And myself and Pete, my friend and fellow cameraman, had to kind of edge into the doorway just enough so we could film without any glass in the way, but not go in too far that the wind would just blow us away. And we would sort of shoot off into the sky, camera in hand, and cause some violent injuries. I guess Natsuki himself became an obstacle, especially after the injury when he did the somersault and buggered his neck, because he was quite stressed out, he was in a lot of pain, he was quite uncooperative, as he would be given the pain, and for the rest of the trip he was pretty difficult to work with actually. There was a moment in the Louvre where we ran in, when the doors to the Louvre Museum opened, I wanted to get in quickly to the Mona Lisa so we could get the shot without other people being around. We ran all the way through, we got to the Mona Lisa, I put the camera on Natsuki and I was like, okay Natsuki, go, do it now. And he just went, fuck, and just went mental and shouted.
Fucking Mona Lisa!
And it was the first time I'd actually ever seen Natsuki angry, or at least angry kind of towards me. So that was a bit awkward and a bit uncomfortable, and I had to like calm him down for 10 minutes before we could start rolling again. So that was a little bit difficult as well. But mainly just running around with a camera trying to film. It was a hell of an obstacle. Why was Natsuki's wife unable to come with him on the filming of the documentary? She wasn't unable, she was there with us behind the camera watching the mayhem unfold. You can actually see her in one shot when Natsuki and Jeff meet in Leicester Square. Because there was no other way we could film it, because it was a surprise moment. We pulled out the camera and got them, and you can see her sort of caught in the middle looking a little bit awkward. I did feel a bit bad for her because there was a sense that it wasn't much of a holiday given we were just filming Natsuki the movie. But she did get to do some indoor skydiving, which she certainly enjoyed, and she did get to eat fish and chips amongst other things. So I think she had a nice time, or certainly one hell of an experience at the very least. And there's actually another question about Natsuki's wife. How come you decided to leave Natsuki's wife out of the trip in the movie? She's a little bit shy, she doesn't really like being on camera. Even the interview scene at the start where she's in the shop talking about Natsuki, she didn't want to appear in that. And after we'd filmed it, she was like, oh no, Mooney, don't put it out. But I convinced her that it was a really important thing, that we had to have that scene in there. But yeah, for the most part, she really didn't want to be on camera, and so I wanted to respect her wishes. Were there times you wanted to give up? If so, what kept you going? I never gave up, but I did procrastinate a heck of a lot because I had numerous scenes that I watched over and over and I just couldn't find, I didn't feel like they were working. One scene off the top of my head was the moment where Natsuki meets Jeff in Leicester Square, right? So we didn't have the cameras rolling and they met, and it was a little bit awkward at first, and then they go to the pub and have a drink, they talk a bit, and then they part ways on the bridge. And I watched it over a few times and it felt like it was missing something, and I realised I'd forgotten to actually interview Jeff and actually get his thoughts and opinions on Natsuki and what it was like to meet him. So when I went back to London in February for a few weeks, I actually met with Jeff again. We went back to that pub where we met that day, and I just filmed Jeff and interviewed him and what he thought about Natsuki and why he thought Natsuki was popular online. And between that and the soundtrack that I used for that scene, which helped give it a kind of upbeat feel. between those two things, I felt the scene, it all came together kind of nicely at the end, and yeah, it's one of my favourite scenes in the film.
Yay! Justice, redemption.
Did you have a mini heart attack when Natsuki banged his head during the indoor skydive? I didn't actually, because when he did it, there was no bang noise. I mean, that was put in post-production. He didn't make that loud bang noise. But he sort of came down, banged his head, and bounced up and stood up. And at first I thought, that's quite funny. And then he came out and he started clutching his neck and going, ow, this is quite painful. And I was like, oh yeah, well, it would be if you'd done that right.
Yeah.
The bit when I did get worried was when we were filming a few hours later in Stonehenge. And I was ahead of Natsuki. It was me and Pete, the cameraman. We were ahead of Natsuki and his wife, going to scout out where to film from in Stonehenge, the angle. And I could hear, oh fuck, in the background. And there was Natsuki clutching his neck and he was like kneeling in the grass. And I was like, oh my God. And I saw his wife like leafing through the travel insurance booklet. And I was like, oh shit, this isn't good. And that's when I started to worry.
I was backflip. Damage.
And then we had to go to the hospital. His neck wasn't fractured or anything, but he just sprained his neck and pulled some muscles. So that's when I was kind of relieved. But yeah, it was certainly quite scary. What do Natsuki and his wife think of the movie? About a week before the movie came out, I sat down with them and watched a kind of draft version. And they said "sugoi" a lot. There was a lot of "sugoi," wow. Particularly with the bit when they knew we meant business was the scene where Natsuki pulls the guitar off the wall and he starts playing the guitar, and then it cuts to a voiceover and clips of Natsuki, and that felt very documentary-like, and they were both quite impressed with that.
14歳くらいに初めてパンクロック
And as for Natsuki, he's definitely proud of the film, he's proud of it, and he likes that he was able to show a side of his life that he's not been able to show up until now, right? Usually he's kind of the wacky, comical, ridiculous guy on camera, but this time we actually got to see a more serious side to Natsuki, and he was very happy to kind of show that off and bring people into his life as well, I think. So yeah, they both really enjoyed it. Having completed the movie, what's something you wish you'd done differently before getting to the editing stage in hindsight? I wish we'd scheduled our time in the UK and France a lot better, to be honest. Each day was pretty action-packed, but it was also very chaotic and spontaneous. Like the scene when Natsuki's walking through the park with the balloons, right? Life is balloons. He bought those balloons about an hour before we even filmed that scene. We were going past like a card shop or something, and Natsuki sort of said, oh yeah, maybe I should get some balloons. We were like, why? That happened an hour before we filmed it, so that was quite cool. But at the end of the film, Natsuki feels rejuvenated, right? And he's talking about his dreams and he feels remotivated again. I don't feel like the holiday explained why it had that effect upon him. Now obviously, if you think about it, it's a big deal. It's a fish out of water scenario. Natsuki's only travelled overseas twice in his entire life. We should have captured why all these things were having an effect upon Natsuki. Why did they reignite his dreams? Why did going to Stonehenge or seeing the Mona Lisa or doing an indoor skydive or eating fish and chips or snails, after each of those moments we should have captured more of his thoughts and his commentary on it all. That would have been better. So that's something I'd like to have done. This movie and other recent videos have impressed on me the importance of editing skills. How do you, as an editor, decide on what aspects of a person, such as Natsuki, to leave in the movie and what to edit out? Firstly, when editing, you're always looking for comments and dialogue that help to reflect that person's character and accentuate their characteristics. So in Natsuki, I'm always looking for rebellious, quirky, funny lines. But above all, you have to make sure that that dialogue is there to serve the narrative. So for something like a documentary, like Natsuki the movie, every moment of dialogue and every scene is there to push the story along. So for example, the first scene with Natsuki at breakfast, it starts quietly and it's kind of an insight into Natsuki's life. Also shows you his rather unhealthy addiction to cigarettes and unhealthy breakfast in general. He prepares his shop like he does every morning, but he also gives us an insight into why he started his shop. Then he shows us the guitar and we quickly understand his love of music, and more importantly, that this is something he doesn't do that much anymore. This is because the guitar's up on the wall, right? We see him work, we see him exhausted and run down, We get a glimpse into his brief free time, but most of all, we get to see that again, he's worn out and he's not really doing a lot. Like there's that line where he says to Terra, "Oh, what are you doing these days? Do you have time?" And Terra says, "Oh, I'm still doing the band." And Natsuki says,
俺もしたいの。
Then we have the scene with YouTube, and we talk about how through YouTube Natsuki is able to escape his kind of stresses of daily life. And throughout each of those scenes there's that sort of overarching narrative that Natsuki's tired and worn out and he's put his dreams to one side, and it reaches the sort of peak kind of moment, the breaking point when he's looking out to sea, talking about the past and his regrets. And you realise that despite his life on YouTube that he talked about in the previous scene, it's still not enough to mask the sense of regret that he carries with him. And finally he snaps and he has the call to action where he goes to Europe. So each scene serves a purpose there to build things up, right? Do you or Natsuki think that the release of Natsuki the movie and Natsuki's greater presence outside of just your channel will change Natsuki's life, perhaps by having his own YouTube channel? I don't think Natsuki will ever have his own channel just because he literally knows nothing about social media, let alone cameras, so he wouldn't be able to do that. He always needs someone there to help him and manage him. As you might have seen recently, Natsuki's been appearing on other channels on YouTube, and it's gone pretty well, to be honest, so far, and that's what we're really excited about, raising Natsuki's profile, so he's not just part of abroad in Japan, but he's actually just Natsuki, right? I mean, my dream is for him to be on half a dozen different channels before the end of the year. And it looks like he might have his own Instagram account by next month as well, so that could be good. What was Natsuki's favourite thing about the overall filming of the movie? Was he happy and excited towards taking part, or was he a bit nervous when presented with the challenge? Natsuki has never wanted to do anything more in his entire life. When I said to him, "We're going to make Natsuki the movie," he went, "Yeah, fucking yeah." I think that was literally what he said. He was very, very up for it and has always been. And overall, his favourite thing was just the chance to travel overseas and meet people. Natsuki loves to just meet people and talk and learn new things. He loved meeting Jeff, the fan, the acupuncturist, Mr. Terry, cigarette guy on the beach at Brighton, Pete the cameraman. Like he met all sorts of people, and he just loves to meet people along the way. So I think that's overall the thing he enjoyed the most. I had to cut out more of the scene where he's on Brighton Beach talking to the cigarette guy. It's the best way I can describe him, the guy that gives him a cigarette. We kept it rolling for about 5 minutes, and they talked, and we had a really nice moment, a nice scene. But we had to cut it just because the sound quality wasn't that good, unfortunately. I'll show you the clip now, but yeah, the sound quality wasn't good enough to put in the film overall.
Where you from, mate?
Japan.
Japan? Really? Wow, it's a long way.
Very far.
Yeah, very far.
Very long, fucking long time.
Fucking long time.
12 hours.
12-hour flight? Wow, all the way to Brighton. What have you been up to today?
Skydiving.
Skydiving? Out of a plane?
Friend.
Wow.
I can fly.
You can fly?
Yeah.
Really? It's the first time I've heard that.
Watching the movie, I couldn't help but be reminded of Thoreau's famous quote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." From what I know, this quote applies wonderfully to many within Japanese society. It seems that this is where Natsuki was at the start of the movie, with the rest of the movie being his exploration outside of that bubble. My question is, do you think he was able to escape that life of quiet desperation as he returns to his normal, most likely overworked routine? I think Japanese people in general are just very good at getting on with things and not feeling sorry for themselves. Unlike the individualistic Western culture where we think the world is all about us and we're kind of in the Truman Show and it's all about us. In Japan, I think you're raised to be in that collective community spirit where you feel like you're interwoven into the fabric of the community and the people around you. So you don't have that sort of strong sense of entitlement that we get in the West. My life should be like this and I want this. All these expectations. They don't have that as much in Japan. So people, I think, are generally happier for it or more content with their life. Natsuki does live a stressful life, but for the most part he's pretty happy and relatively satisfied. I do worry sometimes that I've kind of corrupted him a bit by showing him the world outside Japan, and by having him on YouTube. I think he expects more out of life now. When he looks at a video and sees the view count at 1 million or 2 million or something, he probably looks at that and thinks, oh yeah, I should be making videos instead of running a shop. But I hope, if anything, Natsuki the movie is a stepping stone for him. He can realise that there are more things he could do, and I feel like I've tried to show him the pathway that he could follow, and now it's up to him if he wants to kind of push on down it. You mentioned the Mini Tsunami documentary from February. I really enjoyed it. Will you make more like it about Natsuki or otherwise? I'm currently putting together another documentary about people affected by the tsunami in Fukushima as well. People affected by the nuclear disaster. And as for a sequel to Natsuki the movie, I think if we did do something like go to America, it'd be a lot easier to make now, given the things we've learned from doing this project. But I think we told Natsuki's story and wrapped it up, and it'd be a shame to go beyond that and then kind of ruin the last one. So I'm not sure really, but you never know, it's something I'll probably think about more towards the end of the year, when this project's well out of my mind and we can start again and think fresh. How did Natsuki's journey encourage your life, Chris? I think the overarching theme resonated with me quite a lot. When Natsuki's like sitting by the sea talking about his dream of wanting to go and travel overseas, dreams that never came true, or when he's playing the guitar and he talks about how he wanted to be in a band and that didn't come true either. It made me think, I want to make sure I'm not in that position, to be honest. And that's the one thing we really wanted viewers to take away from this. The one message is, if you have a dream, be bloody careful not to neglect it, because you'll regret it further on down the line, right? The idea behind cycling across Japan, something I want to do in September, October for a month, that wouldn't have happened had I not made Natsuki the movie, I think. By doing Natsuki the movie, I thought, yeah, I want to challenge myself, I want to push myself. So that's kind of led to the cycle happening. Natsuki the movie gave me a lot of clarity, and Natsuki's message gave me a lot of clarity in what I want to do. Thank you to everyone for sending your questions in. The next video, 10 things I learned from making Natsuki the movie, will be out next week, but we're going to go in depth, look at some deleted scenes, outtakes, why they were taken out of the film, so keep an eye out for that. If you have any comments or questions you want to put on to me, like leave comments below in the video or on Patreon and I'll get back to you. But for now guys, have a great weekend and I'll see you in the next few days. Take care, all the best. Oh god, not another awkward wink. I never learn, do I? That awkward winking, that'll be my downfall.